So we have a good question here of what black paper is good to use with coloured pencils. Well, there are various black papers available for drawing, and some may be easier to purchase in some countries than others, so it depends where you are in the world as to what you have access to. Now, I haven't tried out and tested every black paper that is available, but I have got 3 popular ones to share with you, and look at what they are really like. As with any type of paper though, it really comes down to personal choice and what qualities you are looking for within a paper. But we'll have a look at each of the 3 and I'll talk to you about what they're actually like. So I've got 3 papers here to share with you today. I've got the Stonehenge, I've got some Fabriano Black, and I've got some Canson Mitientes paper. Now, first off, I'm going to start with the Canson paper. Just to clarify, I'm not talking about the touch version that they do, as that has a much rougher surface to it, so don't get confused between the two. Now, the Canson Mitientes has 2 different sides to the paper. You'll get one side which is quite rough, that has like a honeycomb texture to it. Let's see if I can get you see that. There you go. See the texture of that surface there. The other side is much smoother, has a slight texture to it, so you can use either side of the paper. I personally prefer the smoother of the 2 sides, as I find the honeycomb just that little bit kind of too rough for my liking. There's a bit too much tooth for me to fill in. It is actually a pastel paper, but it can also be used with colour pencils very successfully. Now, the thing with this paper is that it's only 160 grams in weight, so you can see it's quite thin and flexible. Not so much so, you know, that you could damage your paper, but you obviously do need to be a little bit careful with it. It's actually the thinnest of the 3 papers I'm showing you today. One thing though is it's available in sheets, rolls and pads of different sizes, and it also comes in a range of 50 colours, not just the black. So if you like the paper, you can always try out some other colours as well. And also it's quite a reasonably priced option for black paper. Now, according to their website, it's an acid-free paper with colours being light resistant. How light resistant, I don't actually know, but I don't personally tend to hang my artwork in direct sunlight anyway, so hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. I've also found it handles a number of layers of colour pencil before it can't take any more, so that's another positive for this paper. Next up, we have the Fabriano Black paper. Now, the thing that stands out about this paper is just how black it is compared to the other 2 papers. If I just pop that one in the middle, then you can see there's a real difference between the level of blackness with this one. So, you know, if you are looking for something that is kind of that ultra black, then this is the paper for you. Now, the other thing that stands out about this paper is it's also 300 grams in weight. So it's like card, as you can see here. It's kind of, you know, not quite as flexible as the Canson we just looked at. It's actually nearly twice the weight of it. So it's ideal for pastels, coloured pencils and acrylic markers, is what it says on its information. So in terms of what the surface is like itself, it's actually the smoothest of the 3 papers. Let's see if we can zoom in here. It's very, very smooth surface to this paper on both sides of it. So unlike the Canson where you had a choice of size, this feels to me pretty much the same on both sides. Now, it's obviously, as I said, it's got this pretty smooth surface, so it will take a few layers. Now, if you use a fairly kind of firm pressure, I found I got about 6 or 7 layers before I couldn't really apply any more pencil to it. Obviously, if you use lighter layers, then I could get a few more down. It's a good choice if you want a fairly kind of smooth paper that's not too thin, and you want like this really black surface to work on, particularly if you're wanting to leave your background black on a picture, for example, and you want it to be really black, then you know this could be the paper for you. If you are wanting to get in lots and lots of layers, then obviously you would need to use a light pressure on this paper, or you know, you may find that it's too smooth for you, depending if you prefer a smooth paper or one with a bit of texture to it. Now, last up we have the black Stonehenge paper. This is Stonehenge fine art paper is what it's called. It's the same as their popular white versions, but obviously in black. Now, I am a fan of the white vellum paper they do, so I was really keen to kind of try it out in black. Now, my first comment about it would be that the colour is definitely not as dark as either of the other two choices of paper. If you can see here, even the Canson, it's still comes in a bit more of a grey feel to it. They're similar, but in person, as it were, it's definitely a little bit more grayer than the Canson. Now, in terms of its surface, it has a slightly kind of mottled surface, which resembles vellum, as it were. So it does have like this slight texture to the paper, the same as the white version, which I personally enjoy using. It's made of cotton and is acid free, which is good. And this one has a weight of 250 grams, so it kind of comes in the middle of the 3 papers. So you can see, you know, it's a good quality paper, and I find that it takes the layers of coloured pencils really well. I've never had a problem with how many layers I put on. You know, I've never kind of reached the limit, and I do often quite like to use a fair few amount of layers in my drawings. Overall, these are 3 good examples of black paper that you can use with coloured pencils. They each have their own unique properties, so it really comes down to what you're looking for and what type of surface texture you enjoy working with, and also obviously how heavy you want your paper to be. So in summary, you've got the Fabriano black paper, which is the blackest and heaviest weighted of the 3. It's also the smoothest, so I personally found it doesn't take as many layers as the other 2, but if you like smooth paper, then this could be the one for you. The Stonehenge is the middleweight of the 3, good quality, takes the layers, lots of layers with a light texture, but is also the lightest black of the 3, so it depends how black you actually want your paper. Then you have the Canson Mitientes, which is the lightest weighted of the 3 papers, but it has a choice of 2 surfaces depending which side of the paper you use, so it can take lots of layers, and it's the middle black in terms of blackness of the 3 papers, but definitely isn't as black as the Fabriano. Now, you can see here what a little bit of coloured pencil can look like on these 3 papers. So let's just start by looking at the white first. I used a white luminance on each of them, so the same pencil. Now, to me, the white looks the brightest on the Fabriano black and the Canson. Now it has shown out quite well on the Canson. You can see the white on the Stonehenge, but I found it isn't quite as bright as the other two. Now, when putting some white underneath a range of colours over the next three, what I found was the Fabriano one shows up the colours the brightest, as it were, with the white underneath. You know, they shone through quite nicely, actually. That was good for that. Then followed by the Canson, again, that came up quite well. And I found the Stonehenge kind of was a bit more muted, to be honest with you. It wasn't quite as bright. So it depends, obviously, on what the look is that you're trying to achieve in your drawing, really, as to which way you would go with that. And then lastly, I've just done some yellow and red layers straight onto the black paper. Now here you can see that the Stonehenge one and the Canson one, I think I actually probably prefer over the Fabriano, to be honest with you. Similar, but out of all of them, probably the Canson has handled it the best in terms of brightness. Obviously, I've got you can see the texture showing through, though, and I found the Fabriano, because obviously it's so black, it tends to suck up some of that brightness of the colour more than the other two papers. So, you know, personally, I would be happy using any of these three papers, and it would probably come down to how black I wanted my paper and what kind of surface I was feeling like I wanted to be working on. Now, if you have used any of these papers, then do let me know what you think of them. Or if you've used any other types of black paper for drawing with coloured pencils, then drop me a message and let me know what you thought of it. I always enjoy exploring new papers, so I'd be interested to hear, you know, about your own experiences. I hope you found this helpful, and perhaps it's inspired you to test out a few for yourself. Bye for now.